Welcome to Begin, Build, Blossom, your business journey with Clarita, the podcast where we will discuss valuable insights, resources, and motivation to fuel your entrepreneurial spirit. Let's build a supportive community together. Subscribe now to Begin, Build, Blossom, and let's embark on your business journey. Good morning, and welcome to another episode of our podcast, Begin, Build, Blossom. And today we have with us Aisha Smith. Aisha is a school psychologist, wife, mother, and founder of Sage Education Consulting. Welcome, Aisha, and thanks for taking the time to be with us this morning.
Thank you so much for having me.
So we are going to get started with a section called Rapid Fire. But I just want to first say that I've known Aisha for a while. We went to Grambling State University together, participated in quite a few activities on campus. We're both from the Caribbean. Let's call out our countries. I'm from St. Lucia. What about you, Aisha?
Trinidad and Tobago, Trinity the Bone.
Yes. Yep. Proud Caribbean girls here. Well, women. Okay, so we're going to get started with a section called Rapid Fire. So I'll go ahead and ask you a few questions and we'll try to get quick answers to them and then we'll get into the rest of the episode. So if you can give me two words, one that describes you now and one that described you as a child.
Now I would say advocate, and as a child I would say brave.
Brave, an advocate. Nice. And can you tell us the name of your business?
Sage Education Consulting.
How long have you been in business?
Just about 8 months.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Is it full-time?
Not just yet.
Okay. And what are you doing? Because you said that you're not yet full-time, which means you're part-time. So what else do you do?
So during the day, I work as a school psychologist. I am the therapeutic team lead for a support program for students with emotional disabilities.
And can you tell us one book that you'd recommend that we read?
One of the books that I started reading was The 12-Week Year. I can't remember the author's name by heart, but it is a great book if you are looking at goal setting. It's a way to maximize your time. So instead of looking at your year as 12 months to set goals, you have 12-week cycles, the 12-week year.
Great. And you, it sounds like that works. So you would recommend that we try that?
I would. And I have a couple more chapters to finish reading, but it has been great so far because it is about setting short-term goals and progress monitoring along the way. So instead of when you think about your goals in terms of 12 months, there's this level of urgency towards the last quarter of the year. But when you think about your goals in 12-week increments, there's a greater level of urgency throughout the year to get more done.
I can see how that would work for me. So I will give it a read. And maybe next time we meet on here, we can both talk about how it works for us.
For sure.
So thank you so much for sharing. We're going to go ahead and move into the begin segment of the episode. So can you tell me the first time you thought about starting your own business?
I have been thinking about it on and off for a while. And I've been thinking about a couple different ways that I could do that. I think that within the past 2 years, I really started thinking about it more and thinking that this could actually be a reality.
Okay. And what is it that changed that actually caused you to actually do it?
I came to a point where I decided that it was time to take my dreams off of paper and actually put myself out there to the world and put my skills and what I had to offer out to the world. So I just decided to move.
Okay. And when you made that decision, what were the actual steps that you took towards taking that idea off of paper and making it a reality?
I definitely had some help along the way. TJ Maxx it was an instrumental part of my process. TJ Maxx offered me some startup funds to get my business started, and that was a great help to me to know that my idea was recognized as something that could be impactful to students and educators. And so from that, I started. You have the startup funds, then you have to begin to do research. You have to think about how you want to, how you want to represent yourself to the world, and whether or not you have a website or anything like that, you are your brand. And so whatever you do, wherever you go, wherever you speak, whoever you network with, you are presenting your brand, your company to the world long before launch date. So that was how I got started.
And what were the things you did before launch dates to have how did you get affiliated with TJ Maxx?
Sure. So TJ Maxx actually had a program called TJ Maxx, and it was like a play on word, maximize your life. And they were seeking proposals and insight from people women particularly, who had dreams and had goals of making an impact. And so you had to kind of submit your idea and tell them what it is you would like to do. And they provided to the winner, they provided some startup funds to help you maximize your life. Because a lot of times we have dreams and we have goals, but sometimes we do need a bit of help. And so I am grateful for that opportunity. And through that opportunity with TJ Maxx, I was able to work with Yvonne Orji, and she served as a mentor for a few months. And so I was able to make that connection, and I was able to form Sage Education Consulting as a result.
Oh my gosh, congratulations.
Thank
I
you so
love
much.
that. And that is so inspiring. How did you even find out about the program that TJ Maxx had?
Sure. On social media, and it all came from doing something that I had not done before.
Mm-hmm.
And so by nature, I'm a very reserved person. And so part of the requirements of the contest, you had to submit a video. It wasn't a long video. It was just about, just a few minutes, saying who you are, what your goals, what your dreams are, and basically introducing yourself to them and telling them what this would mean to you, to be able to maximize your life and maximize your dreams in that way. And so submitting a video or something like that is not something that I would have usually done. I would have overlooked it. I've been like, nah, I'm not doing that. Maybe I can write a letter, but I'm not trying to be on camera or anything like that. And that one decision to do something different turned out to be an amazing decision and have an amazing outcome.
Great.
Doing something
Well,
different.
I'm happy for you. I'm glad you. I've been speaking to some person and they said being uncomfortable. So
Yes.
it sounds like you made yourself uncomfortable. You not made yourself, but you got a little bit more comfortable with being uncomfortable, and
Yes.
that helped to get you to where you are right now.
Sure. And throughout that process, I had to articulate my idea. And I think that was the first time that I was actually saying it out loud and telling people, this is what I want to do. This is my vision. This is what I believe that Sage could be. And that was transformational for me, more than receiving, startup funds to help get my business off the ground. There is something empowering about vocalizing your thoughts to the world. We can write things down, we can vision board, but there's a unique power in actually saying and vocalizing your goals and your dreams. So that was transformational for me.
I totally get what you're saying. There's this book I read where it says there is power in just putting it out there into the universe. Like,
Yeah,
let the universe know that you're ready. And one of the ways of doing that is saying it out loud. And
yeah,
I've had some other guests on here, and that's something I'm realizing that is something that's a common thread. Being able to say it out loud. It's almost like you're accepting it yourself and you're telling everybody else, this is me. I'm saying it out loud. I'm ready.
absolutely. Because
Yes.
there is a comfort level to having things hidden and having
Mm-hmm.
things on paper. When you say something out loud, not only are you now accountable to people for the words that you have spoken, you are now accountable to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Because am I going to keep my word to myself? Am
Right.
I going to say, am I going to do what I said I was going to do? Because
Mm-hmm.
now I have said this out loud. So there's no
Right.
hiding. It's
No
not in a
hiding.
journal anymore. It's not in the note section on my phone. This
Right.
is what I have told the world that
Mm-hmm.
I am determined to do to create an impact.
I love it. And you mentioned that you had a mentor. Part of the program with TJ Maxx was having a mentor. Let's talk a little bit more about that.
Sure. So throughout the program, Yvonne Orji served as my mentor, and we met about 4 times, and so we she kind of helped me flesh out different ideas that I had. She was able to provide me with some input and some advice along the way, and just kind of affirmed the vision that I had for Sage, and just serve as a source of support and encouragement as well throughout that period.
Okay. So if you can just walk us through what it's like working with the mentor in terms of the actual steps. So it sounds like you meet with them. I guess you have a schedule. And what kinds of interactions happen during those meetings, and what happens after, like the work that you do after that meeting? And if you can just walk us through that a little bit.
Sure. So we met about 4 times. Okay. It was through over a six month period, and we met
Mm-hmm.
4 times. And so the purpose of each meeting would be to check in and to see where I was based on the previous session's goals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you would set goals and then check back in during the interim to see whether or not you were on target. And if you weren't on target, what are kind of some of the steps we can take to make sure that we are on target to complete those goals and then eventually launch. Because launching sometimes, in hindsight, it doesn't really take that much to launch. There is a mental barrier sometimes where we think we need to have everything and things have to be perfect before we launch. But you launch the day that you make a decision, the day that you decide um, that you have an offering for the world, you have launched. So without the website, without the photo shoot, without the branding colors, you have launched. So that was what our process looked like. Checking in and ensuring that I was on target to meet my goal, which was launching officially.
Okay. And in between the sessions, I'm sure there was a lot of putting in the work. So what did that look like for you, especially considering that you also work a full-time job?
That looked like some days I was able to give more than others. I work full time. I'm the mother of a toddler. And so that looked like working at nights. That looked like working on the weekends, researching, doing different things that I needed to do, networking, making people aware of what my plan was and what I plan to be offering in the educational consulting space and how I could support educators around the world. So it looks different on different days. And when you are working full time and also entering into entrepreneurship, time management is key.
Mm, that's true. And you mentioned networking. It's one of my favorite words.
Yes.
And you mentioned earlier that you're very reserved. So what changes you had to make, or what changes you had to make to be able to network effectively?
Well, I used to tell myself that I was not a very good networker, but that actually isn't true. I network, but the way that I network is different. I pride myself in being authentic. And so I don't connect with people just for the sake of connecting, which sometimes is what networking has become. Let me just connect with you to see, I believe that when people have goals and visions that are aligned, the network happens, and it is, it's not forced. It's a natural connection and a natural alliance that forms. And so what I had to do was understand that there are a lot of people that I can network with. There are a lot of people that I can connect with, but I am intentional about who I connect with because I want to preserve my integrity. I also want to make sure that I am aligning with people who similar goals and similar visions within the education space. And then as a matter of intentionality when it comes to my time, because I am a mom and a wife and I work full time and I run a business. Time wise, I can't connect with everyone because it's just not feasible.
Okay. And you mentioned that you run a business.
Yes.
So how would you say that has been the actual running of the business?
Well, I still have a lot of work, to be honest. We are, we will be a year old soon in May. And so on the back end, I still have a lot of things that I need to get done as far as systems and all that. Of course, I have a website, but I'm still honestly working on a lot of different things like that. But I'm not gonna let that keep me back just because I don't have all of those things in place. But I am aware that in order for my clients to have a good experience, there are a lot of things on the back end that need to be in place.
Okay, great. And you talked about systems, and that will bring us nicely into our next section of building. But before we move on, I want to learn a little bit more about your upbringing and how do you think that has impacted your journey and how it has led to where you are today.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in Trinidad and Tobago. I left Trinidad and Tobago about 18 years ago. And growing up in Trinidad and Tobago was great. I went to kindergarten, elementary school, secondary school, did A levels. So all of my schooling was done in Trinidad and Tobago. I actually worked for a year before leaving for the US to study psychology at Grambling State University. While I was at Grambling State, I was introduced to the idea of becoming a school psychologist. Now, the difficult thing was, part of that process, our professor asked us to interview a school psychologist. Unfortunately for me, there were no school psychologists in Trinidad and Tobago at the time. And so while my classmates were able to easily interview people in the fields of psychology that they were interested in, I did not have anyone that I could interview. One of my friends at the time connected me to a school psychologist in California, and I was able to interview her and find out more about the field. And so how that plays into where I am now in Sage, a lot of people don't know what school psychologists do, but school psychologists, we work as advocates because we conduct the psychoeducational assessments to determine the need for special education supports and services for students with disabilities. We don't just support students with disabilities, we support all students. But here's where my upbringing comes in. In Trinidad and Tobago, even now in 2024, there are many students with disabilities who are not able to receive a public school education. So what does that mean? Their parents either have to pay for them to attend a special school, or some of them, if their parents don't have the means, they aren't able to attend school. Okay. And so Sage Education Consulting, our goal is to provide support and advocacy for global educators, and that is done by way of training. I have parents reach out to me. I have teachers reach out to me from Canada, from Ghana, from Cameroon, from a lot of countries outside of the US. And the questions are usually the same. Aisha, my child or the student has autism, has ADHD, has dyslexia. How can I support that student at school? And so because I cannot be in every school at the same time, the goal of SAGE is to provide training so that teachers around the world can support more students.
And that is so valuable because even in St. Lucia, where I grew up, you do see a lot of that. Like, I don't want to tell me if I'm saying it the wrong way, but how do you integrate ensuring that when this child comes to school, that this child can participate just as the other students in the school, that they can just be be themselves in the school, and that the other option is not that they have to stay at home.
Correct. So how can they be included?
Right.
And right now, I actually, in April, at the beginning of April, I will actually be providing a training, a workshop for teachers in Singapore. Okay. They want me to train their staff on ways to include students with disabilities in their schools, because sometimes teachers feel as though, well, I'm not trained for this. I'm not a special education teacher. The truth is, all teachers have the ability to support students. They just need to know how to. And so that's where SAGE comes in.
So you empower them to do what they already can do.
Absolutely.
You're giving them.
Absolutely.
And the children will benefit so much from that.
Absolutely.
And I know teachers usually teachers want to do the best for the children that they serve. Yes. So empowering them in that way makes it's great for everybody. Everybody benefits. Yes. I can see how parents will be less stressed knowing that their kids are being advocated for and are being, treated included equally in school.
Yeah.
How do you feel being that person providing all of those services?
I feel good. I think that for many years, I felt like something was missing. And when I say something is missing, I felt that the part that was missing was my ability to reach back and make an impact in countries like Trinidad and Tobago, which is my home, and then countries outside of the US, because I have spent over 10 years, just about 12 years or so, advocating for developing educational programming for students with multiple disabilities, speech and language impairments, visual impairments, orthopedic impairments, learning disabilities. And I have literally impacted hundreds of students in the US, but then I look at my home country and I look at my inbox and people are still reaching out to me in 2024. Aisha, this child with autism still can't go to school. So now I feel as though the part that was missing, which would be my ability to reach back and to get those services to students and to teachers outside of the US, which is something that I have wanted to do for a long time, I feel great that I'm actually able to do that.
Wow. I really love what you're doing. I feel very, very inspired. So thank you for what you're doing. Going back to the business and the building part of the business, I know earlier you mentioned about systems. Would you like to, how do you find out about those systems? How do you ensure that they work well? What does that look like for you?
My systems are not where they should be, to be honest. And so I'm trying to work with different people, whether it's on the accounting end, because that is important, but also if you have, when I will be offering digital products, educational tools and things like that, your sale, your sales funnel, your client experience, your follow-up emails, how do people opt in? So right now, I am still, like I said, working on that in the back end. All of that is not yet where I want it to be, but I'm in the process of connecting with different people and trying to make that better on the business end.
And how are you going about finding those people that you're connecting with to make that work for you?
Different ways. Some people I have found on social media, some people through networks, people have recommended, people have made recommendations as well.
Okay, great. And in terms of a team, it sounds like you're doing a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us what team means to you at this stage?
Well, for right now, it's just me, but I do foresee in the future that I will need a team. I will definitely, because, running a business by yourself while working full time, it is a lot. So you're gonna, because you are responsible for marketing, you are responsible for creating the products, you are responsible for service delivery. It can be a lot. And so, that being said, I tailor my service offerings. And so the way that my business is set up, I'm very mindful of kind of maximizing my reach. And so that is why I try to do trainings instead of a lot of one-to-one consultation, because that could be a little bit taxing. So I've set it up in such a way that I'm at a good place right now that is manageable for me. But in time, I know that I will have to scale. And in order to do that, I am going to need a team.
Okay. And is that something that your mentor, like, do you have a mentor that's helping you through all of that? Or did you have a mentor in the beginning stage and then you will probably get someone that will help you with the building stage?
I don't have a business mentor, but I have people that other women in business who I can talk to and ask questions about certain things and they give me feedback. Yes.
Okay. And in terms of women in business, is there like a group that you joined? Are there several groups? How do you become part of that network?
It's not like a specific group. It's just that, friends I've made along the way.
I see. Okay.
And they also run their own businesses. They have been in business for a longer time than I have. But I am a part of, through, like I said, Senya, and then, there are other groups of education consultants, who may have different ideas. And some of them even, they share if there's a request for proposals or anything like that may be pertinent to a member of the group.
Okay. And I know you said you're creating a program for clients, I guess, in Singapore. So I just wanted to know, in terms of getting your first client, what was that like?
I have done workshops and things like that and the conferences. So Singapore will be my first international workshop. Okay. And so I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be at the beginning of April. It's a good feeling. And it's a good feeling because people recognize the value in the work that you're doing and they are willing to pay you to train their staff. So it's a very good feeling.
Congratulations. I am so proud of you. And what is the biggest leap you think you've had to take since you started the business?
Getting started. I think I had to change my mind. I had to change my mind about, like I said, what it took to get started. I don't consider myself to be a perfectionist, but I do believe in providing a level of excellence and being mindful of anything that my name is on and anything that I present to the world. So I want things to be a certain way. In business, you have to be flexible, and perfection, or a lot of time, it leads to stagnation because you're so concerned about having every single detail that you in line that you don't do anything. It paralyzes you, and so you don't make a move. And so what I had to learn was things don't need to be perfect, Aisha. Get started. You will learn as you go. And so that's when you ask me, questions about my systems and things on the back end, I don't feel embarrassed to tell you that, I don't have it all together. I am still getting those things all together. But the point is, I am moving and it's not stopping me from, it's not stopping me from getting clients. It's not stopping me from doing the work. I understand that in order for them to have a great client experience, this is something that I need to fine tune along the way, but I'm moving. So the biggest thing you have to do is get started and move.
I relate so much to that because I have been called a perfectionist. I feel like things need to go well, and I feel like I can do that. So I feel like that's something I have control over, but really I don't. I can do as much as I can, but
Right.
I can't really always determine the outcome.
Yeah, I was going to say nothing is wrong. Nothing is wrong with having a standard. If your
Hmm.
name is on something, you want to put out quality into
Right.
the world. So there's nothing wrong with wanting quality.
Hmm.
When it becomes a problem is where you're so immobilized because it has to be this way or else it's no good, and that's not true. I've made mistakes along the way. Like I mentioned to you, I'm working with people around the world. I had a meeting with someone in Switzerland. I was doing a collaboration with someone in Switzerland maybe about a month ago, and we had a meeting and I got the times mixed up. It's a completely different time zone. The
Hmm.
invite said 3 p.m. and I was thinking it was 3 p.m. Eastern.
Hmm.
No, Switzerland time.
Hmm.
So I had to, the old me that would have rocked me to my core. I would have been so embarrassed. I would have been, overly apologetic. I explained to the person, I did apologize. I said, hey, look, time zones. I'm so sorry. My sincere apologies. And the person said, it's cool. I just missed a meeting this morning.
Oh.
So there was, we put so much pressure on ourselves, but things happen. Don't make it a habit, but when things happen, you have to learn to be flexible and you have to learn to be able to pivot and move forward.
Yeah.
That's why I didn't trip this morning because I know stuff happens.
Oh. Well, we've both grown a lot because I definitely could see how. I remember this morning you said don't panic, and I'm like, yeah, because typically I would be panicking because I want it to be good. So I'm glad that we're both going through this journey together, separately but together. So and we continue to support each other. I
Sure.
do want to find out about the name of your business. How did you come up with the name?
SAGE. SAGE stands for Support and Advocacy for Global Educators. So
Wow.
SAGE is an acronym. SAGE also means wisdom, but I liked the name. I thought for a while, what would I like my company to be called? And then I said to myself, what is your goal? What are you doing? You want to provide support. You want to provide advocacy for global educators. SAGE.
Wow. Wow. I love it. A lot of thought went into that. I could tell. But I guess when it clicked, you knew it was the right name.
SAGE. Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. I would like to find out. I know you're new in business.
Sure.
So where do you think you will need to be to say that, okay, I am very successful in what I'm doing?
Everyone measures success differently.
Mm-hmm.
I measure success by impact.
Mm-hmm.
And so even before I was able um, to receive my first client, I created a digital course that has been viewed by educators around the world. It was viewed by educators in Austria. It was viewed by educators in Canada, throughout the Caribbean, educators in Ghana, all around the world. Okay. To me, that is impact. Okay. My impact will be measured by the number of educators that I am able to impact and empower. So in terms of like a quantifiable number, I would like to have my goal for the remainder of the year. I'm not going to tell you exactly how much. I have a goal of how many more contracts I want to acquire before 2024 is out. But in terms of long-term impact, I will measure that by the number of schools and the number of educators that I am able to empower around the world. And of course, that will also translate into the number of contracts that I attain through trainings.
Okay. And I wish you all the success.
Thank you so much.
So we are going to now move on to the closeout section. I've been having so much fun. I didn't even realize that time is up. As we close out, can you tell me 2 or 3 actionable steps that someone listening to you right now can take to make their dreams a reality, at least getting started?
So the first thing I would tell someone to do is write your dreams down. Write them down. Sometimes when things are in our head, it's very difficult to kind of make sense of it. Write it down on paper. Map your dream out. What does it look like? I want to impact students, but what does that look like? Okay? So step 1, write your dreams down. Step 2, I would say it out loud. Don't just keep it on that paper. Tell someone, this is what I intend to do. And then step number 3, get to work. Every single day, do one thing that brings you closer towards accomplishing that vision that you have written down on paper. And that could look like research. What do I need? What tools do I need? Do I need additional training? What supports do I need to build these systems? That could look like networking. Who is already doing what I would like to do? They may not be doing the exact same thing, but who is doing what I am doing and who is doing it well? How can I learn from them? That can look like educating yourself, reading books, reading articles about what you said your vision is, getting to know your clients. What do they need and how you can best serve them? So 1, write your dreams down. 2, say them out loud. And 3, get to work. Do one thing that will bring you closer to your dreams every single day.
Thank you so much. That was very, very powerful. Thank you.
Sure.
And part of what we're trying to do is to create a community of support. And one of the ways we'd like to do that is by connecting guests with someone listening who can benefit from a one-on-one conversation with you. So would you be open to giving up about 30 minutes of your time so someone can have that conversation with you? Is
Sure.
that something you're open to doing?
Sure.
Okay. So the way we will do this is, you will provide one of the last things we'll do is get you to provide your contact information, and the first person, it's up to you how many people you'd like to provide that time to, but at least I know like the first person who reaches out and says, okay, I heard about you through the podcast, they can then go ahead and schedule with you. And it would be nice if you let us know how that went, or either one of you, just so we know that this is working. And so let's go ahead and get your contact information. How can people reach you?
Sure. You can email me at Aisha, which is my name, Aisha, at sageeducationconsulting.com. That's my email address.
Okay. And how can people reach you on social media?
You can follow me on Instagram at miss.Aisha Smith.
Okay. Thank you so much for spending time with us today. I definitely value time, so I do not take it for granted, the time that you've spent with me today. I look forward to speaking with you again, and I wish you all the success. I can't wait to hear more about your journey as you progress.
Thank you so much for everything.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Begin, Build, Blossom, Your Business Journey, a CME Accounting LLC podcast. Please subscribe and be on the lookout for our next episode. If you'd like to share any feedback with us, please email us at podcast@cmeaccountingllc.com.